Hey everyone, this is Nick with Us versus Herd. We're going to be talking about DWAC. We're going to look at the stock chart and why it is dropping. Now, this is kind of like a follow-up to my prior video that I did back in April when I said DWAC is going to zero. Comments were very hateful. I mean, it was crazy. But at the end of the day, I make videos and content of the way I see the stock market. You may not see it that way, but that's okay. You can start your own YouTube channel. You can do what you want to do. But if you're here, you don't like what you have to say, sure, you can leave a negative comment or you can just carry on with your life, right? But the DWAC right now is trading at $25. It is now over $20 lower from when I did my initial video and initial coverage on it. And if you want to check that video out, you can check out our channel, right? And I mean, it was kind of crazy. I mean, looking at the chart right now, I mean, people obviously are very optimistic. I mean, a lot of traders have been trading in a market where the market has actually never gone against them. And this is the first time in many people's trading careers where the market is going against them. I'm going to share with you why I think that WAC is in for some more pain. But I mean, just looking at the chart, if you're just looking at the chart right now, I mean, we're below the 50-day, we're below the 100-day, and we're below the 10-day moving average. I mean, all just trending down. This thing has been trending down since March. And then any pop, sure, there's been pops along the way. We'll zoom in here a little bit. Sure, there's been pops along the way, but every single pop has been sold. We had a major sell-off a couple weeks ago right in here. Today, we have a pretty decent-sized gap down, currently down 8%, and this thing is just continuing just a gap down and is just like kind of hanging out, right? It's really going nowhere. Now, one of the things that I will say, and before we get started, is that the media and politics and all that involved are going to be what they are, right? There's a lot of powers that be, especially if Trump tries to run in 2024. He said he might, if the elections were like now, he would run. He hasn't announced like he was going to run, but he's holding rallies. He's holding a lot of different things, and he is expected to run in the next election. Now, with that being said, obviously any candidate in the next election is going to be a target for, whoever wants to have a spot, whatever the case is. Democrats, Republican. I mean, there's a lot of shady stuff going on in terms of politics. But getting into the news, that what brought it down over the last couple of days here is that basically the people are getting subpoenaed. The reverse merger with DWAC to take Trump Media and Technology Group to go public hasn't actually happened yet. And if, these people are getting subpoenaed and there's a lot of heat definitely regarding like the January 6th event, a lot of that is focused on them. It's going to make it a very tough. And what's kind of being priced in right now is, let's kind of look at it here. It says the declines come after Digital World said in a filing dated Friday that the information demands and related investigations from the Justice Department and U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission may delay the planned merger. So it may delay the planned merger. Representatives for Digital World and Patrick Orlando, the firm's chief executive officer, didn't respond to email requests. It's like I don't know what's going on here. This thing is wild. So right now, I mean, if the reverse merger doesn't take place, this is going to cut a lot of what potentially could be Trump's funding for this particular company, right? Kind of going into, oh, come on, Bloomberg. It says, from the start, the planned tie-up has been a lightning rod. Senator Elizabeth Warren and Massachusetts Democrat has called on the SEC to investigate the SPAC over reports that it may skirt its security rules. She says she's concerned that Orlando may have failed to disclose to investors talks he had with Donald Trump. So let's take a look at this, subjectively, right? Elizabeth Warren is leading the charge on this, and I mean, we all know that she's not really friends with, Republicans or especially Trump, right? So it's not a surprising thing. So that's why I say the powers at be, especially as things head in a negative way for January 6th, and if things start picking up for Trump in terms of, the next election, this is where he's going to the heat is going to come on them, because what they want to do for the next election is they want to cut the funding, right? They want to cut funding. And one of the major things that I will say, outside of politics, and one of the things that I said in my video in April was that the biggest issue that I have is that this Trump Social, or Truth Social, sorry, I get confused. Truth Social doesn't make any money. And I was kind of thinking like, okay, what kind of advertisers would want to be on there besides, My Pillow guy, right? What kind of advertisers? Maybe you might have Newsmax, maybe you have some of these other ones, but a lot of you're obviously not gonna have CNN, you're not gonna have Fox News, you're not gonna have a lot of people that would normally spend money, that are spending money on Facebook and Twitter. And right now, ad sales are plummeting. YouTube revenue is going down, YouTube ads are going down, Facebook ads are going down. Everything's going down because we're potentially going to be coming in, if we're not already, into a recessionary period. So what they're looking at here is they're, they kind of have a plan here. Now this came back out in this article came out in May, and basically saying, so far, ad sales are non-existent. According to the regulatory filing, the company hasn't yet started charging advertisers, and it may not book any ad sales from Truth Social until 2023, is the filing said. And if we kind of go to the bottom here, for now, the company has a long way to go. In 2021, Truth Social booked just $2.1 million in related party sales from a licensing agreement with one of the stockholders. Although the filing doesn't provide additional details, it lost $59 million last year. So right now, this thing is a money pit, and it's no surprise. I mean, Facebook and Snap and Twitter and any social media out there is a money pit until they start kind of trying to figure things out. So it's they said that they're expected to have 56 million users by 2024, which it believes will help generate sales of $835 million. So will that happen? Will it not happen? I mean, I will tell you right now, one of the biggest risks on YouTube making this video, even mentioning Trump or January 6th or any of that, people like Coca-Cola, stuff like that, are not going to advertise on this video right here. Making video content for the last 4 or 5 years, you kind of understand what to say, what not to say, and maybe True Social will be different. Maybe people will, since you'll have more freedom to say what you want to say. But again, you're going to need advertisers with money to spend money on the platform to target those users. It's not, money just doesn't appear out of thin air. Just because, maybe you like Trump or you like the brands, you like that, doesn't make money appear out of thin air, right? And looking at the previous Trump businesses, I mean, it's a disaster. It's a disaster, right? And I mean, maybe he could build a great social network, maybe he can't. But right now, pricing in and the heat is going to put Trump in, in a bunch of trouble here. Now let me pull this article one more time. It says TMTG said it will use a $1.25 billion in proceeds to continue developing the platform. So they have $1.25 million to continue doing that. There is, where was this? There was in this article here, it did state that Trump is a very large shareholder of the company, and will directly benefit from the company doing well, which, I mean, you should. If you start a business, you should be able to directly benefit from this. I can't find it in here right now, but we'll take a look at it. You can look at it on your own time, okay? What I want to look at here is the chart, and right now the chart, I mean, is a disaster. I mean, and we're in a time right now. I mean, this has extremely bad news. Well, let's look at Facebook. I mean, Facebook as well, I mean, has been cut in half, has been on a downtrend. So, I mean, DWAC is kind of following that, even though I think the moves are a little bit more dramatic in DWAC because, again, the reverse merger has not happened yet, and there's people that could prevent this reverse merger from happening. And if they stop this reverse merger from happening, it's going to cut off funding to DWAC or to True Social and cause some pain for the company, where they could potentially, unless they gather around a bunch of private investors, which they're not going to get Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is looking for, he's gunning for Twitter right now. And Twitter, the only thing that has been saving Twitter from going down is that Elon Musk is going to buy it. I mean, Snapchat is a disaster. I mean, all these stocks are a disaster. So he's launching True Social in one of the worst times for social networks ever. Now, if he pulls through this, then great. But as a shareholder, as somebody that's trying to, if you're an investor or a trader, you're trying to see where is this going to go. And this thing, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one, the SPAC deal doesn't happen, or two, this thing gets significantly cheaper, like $5 or less. $5 or less, and there's a high probability that this business could fail without funding. If they don't get funding, it's gonna be a mess. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know. As always, stay safe, stay green. It's us versus herd.